started by adding a wash to our sky. You feel free to chop your sky into two separate pieces. You could do a watery wash on top and then gradually drop down to a darker color as you get closer and closer to the bottom, or vice versa. Totally up to you. First step is to add clear water to the paper and make sure that you avoid adding any water to your tree or to your hills. Washes are an effective and efficient way to cover a amount of space in a timely manner with a color of your choice. They're also great for shading in the skyline, like a sunset, or the transition between light and dark, or night and morning. They are also helpful with blending and creating new colors as well. The water we used here is going to be kind of like a vehicle. It's going to help our watercolor transition or blend or travel smoothly from one side of the paper to the other side. We want to make sure that we're not using too much water, because when you use too much water you get less control of your watercolor. It's more likely to spill and ooze into other places. You just want a nice thin layer of water, a soft glistening shine on your paper before you start adding your watercolor. So I'm going to use my paintbrush, lather up some blue. The more intense you want your color or your wash to be, the more watercolor you will put on your paintbrush. Um, so I'm going to lather up my paintbrush and apply it to my water, and you can see it spread through the water that I have just placed on the paper. I'm only working with half of my paper right now because I have quality watercolor paper. If you try to do the whole sky all at once, half of your sky will dry and the other half will be wet, and it will be really hard to accomplish this task accordingly. So work with half of the sky at a time if you have quality water paper. I'm going to use long, broad strokes. I'm avoiding painting the inside of my trees. I'm working from one half of the paper to the other half, dragging my watercolor evenly across the paper. If you start to get pools of watercolor, you can move that color around, feather it out, soften it, so you don't have to worry about streaks. If you're looking to get streaks, then let that color gather in those sections. If you can take a peek at my paper right now, there are a few streaks here and there, but I am purposely kind of varying the line quality and the color quality of my sky, because no sky is exactly the same color. So I'm going to have some darker blue in here, and then I'm going to have some lighter blue. As I move down to the hills, I'm using a little bit more water and a little less watercolor so I can get more of a paler blue. My technique here on my second half of my sky is I'm adding more water to my brush, a little bit at a time, just dabbing the tip of it with water, applying it back to my paper to kind of thin out my intensity of my blue. You get to choose what color you want to use for your sky. I'm just showing you the technique in which you use to get that smooth kind of misty skyscape in the background here. As I get closer to my trees, I am going to use the edge of the bristles on my flat brush. If you have a round brush, you can squeeze in there a lot easier. Just be careful about your pressure because you don't want to splooge color into your tree. I like to take the bristles of my brush, line them up with my pencil line, and drag my color out and away from the tree. This helps prevent me from splooging all over my tree with the color that's on my paintbrush. You decide what works best for you. You can even switch out for a smaller brush if you choose to do so. I want to make my water a lot more different than my sky. So I'm going to lather up as much watercolor as possible. I am not even going to worry so much about creating a wash here. I want a vibrant, bright blue, and I'm going to block in that area with that color. If I have to, there are some skinny spots in here. I will switch out my brush to a skinnier or a thinner brush to prevent my color from bleeding into my hill. I might even use just my bristle area, kind of like how I did on in between my trees, and just line my bristles up to the shape of the water that I have sketched in, and then drag my color into the water, away from the hill. Totally up to you on how you do this. If you do decide to use a round brush, just make sure that you are careful about your pressure, especially near the wave area and the edge where it connects to the hill, because you don't want to splooge your color into the hill itself. So just go in with a feather light touch. I want to add some ice blue streaks to my hills. You can choose to do so if you want to, but proceed with caution. You want to make sure that you're using more of a water to watercolor ratio when doing this part of your painting. If you start off too dark, you can always pick up or scrape up the watercolor using your brush and drag it to another area. I'm kind of looking for the shine of the sun and the shifting values across the ice. This is totally optional. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but if you choose to do it, your watercolor paint needs to be very thin, and your watercolor brush shouldn't be sopping wet either, because if it's too wet, then you lose control of the color that you're using. But if it's too dry, it's going to be scratchy. So maybe put your watercolor brush in the water, dip just the corner of your brush into your color palette, but squeeze your watercolor brush before dipping it, and then apply it to your paper and drag that color out. For areas underneath my polar bear, I'm going to have some shadow from the polar bear's body. So I'm going to revisit my my paint palette, and I'm going to just tap the corner of my watercolor brush into the paint palette to gather up some blue, and then I'm going to streak that extra blue underneath the polar bear's body to kind of emphasize like a shadow or a contact shadow happening there. Keep in mind, when doing this, you want to make sure that your brush isn't too wet, because if it is, it's going to bleed out into your ice and it's not going to go well. So just be aware of how much water you're using when you're doing this step. Okay, so now we're going to start with kind of a dry on dry technique. Your watercolor brush is going to be slightly dry. It's not going to be as dry as a desert. It is going to be damp, but it's not going to be overflowing with water. And you're going to gather up your color that you want for your Z's. You're going to gather that up with a smaller brush, one that will fit the shape of the Z's that you have drawn, and you are going to apply your color inside the lines of your Z. This is how you get bright, bold, vibrant colors, and we are taking care with the amount of water we're using to make sure that we don't lose control or go out of the shape of our Z. But this is how you get bright and vibrant colors for your watercolor piece. If you haven't finished your Z's yet, please pause this video, finish them, and play accordingly as soon as you're done. in order to get instructions for the next step. The next step is totally optional. You're going to clean out your brush. You want to get your small brush or a really tiny pointed end brush. And with the same rule here, you're going to want to lather it up with black or maybe a darker color version of what you used for your Z's, and start blocking in the outline of your Z. Just make sure that if you do choose to do this step, to not use too much water, because it will make it very hard for you to have clear, crisp lines. Take your time as you feather stroke your outside lines in. The reason you want to feather it is to prevent your watercolor from squishing out or splooging out and bleeding into either your Z or your hillscape. So just take your time, and once again, this is optional. It's not necessarily needed. It's just an optional embellishment. You decide if you want to do this. If not, let's skip to the next step. Let's scratch in those trees. There's a variety or a various amount of ways to do this. You can put a wash, wait for the green wash to dry, and then start adding your details with a drier brush, kind of like what you did with your Z's. But I'm just going to scratch in or draw in my shadow lines using a green tipped paintbrush. Feel like my first tree was a little bit too scratchy, so I'm going to use the flat of my brush a little bit more for my second tree, and I am going to work within the shape of the shadows of my tree. So that is why I have swooping strokes from the top to the bottom of my tree limb. You can fill in your tree however you like. I just like to imitate the art of drawing when working with my paintbrush. This lesson was developed around Christmas time, so I thought it would be appropriate to add a Christmas hat. You don't have to copy me. You can decide what you would like with your hat. Totally up to you. If you are a person who likes to outline your drawing, I would highly suggest outlining your hat in the color that you choose and then dragging that color into the hat, so that way you have a bold outline and a softer finish in the middle. You can use this using a flat brush, dragging from bristles from outside into towards the center of the hat. Now you may choose to outline your bear using a very thin brush and lots of black. However, if you're into the whole shading thing where you kind of want to turn it into like a black outline and then as you move into the body a softer gray, you can do this. There is a trick to it. First outline your bear with a very thin brush with a general amount of paint, and then go in and clean your brush, squeeze out some of the water, and then kind of drag that color in towards the body of the bear, using a flat brush to kind of like block in that shadow, to gradually move from outside to inside the bear. For a softer gray or a softer kind of blurred black color, you're going to want to add a little bit of water at a time to that area to kind of thin out your color. And you can even move that color around the bear's body instead of pulling from other black lines that you've already established. You can do that and you will get that gray color because you're spreading out its intensity across the bear's body. Totally up to you. This is a neat trick that you can use for shadow